I felt this like existential dread, like this is something bad. I wasn't quite sure what was going on. This was in undergraduate at Oberlin. I was practicing something loud, right? And I'm like, hey, something feels a little off. I went to the doctor, got things checked out, and I had a hernia. I went to my teacher, and Roy Poper, my classical teacher at Oberlin, and I went to him and I was like, hey, I remember I was like kind of really bummed, and I was like, I've got a big problem, and like, I think he thought it was going to be something really bad, right? I can't do this. He's like, oh my God, like, are you okay? And then I was like, yeah, I just like, was at the doctor and they said they have a hernia. And then immediately he was like, oh, you'll be fine. And this is something that has happened now, more than once, where I got injured and then I spoke to someone and they were like, oh, I experienced that same thing. And it was someone who I respected and someone who I knew has had an incredible professional career, and that really helped put me at ease. I want my students to leave their lesson. I want them to, be inspired. Depending on how you look at things, it shapes everything. Because when you start getting negative, it really affects you.
Oh yeah.
Not just psychologically, it can affect you physically. It can affect the way that you breathe. It affects people's posture immediately. Mm-hmm. It affects how tense people get. It really, people can have these negative reactions because they're only ever exposed to teachers that are telling them what they did wrong.
Hey, welcome back to the show, everyone. Today, we have somebody that is, again, someone that I connected with at an ITG several years ago, or a couple years ago, I guess. And we have been talking off and on about content creation, trumpet, and several other topics. One of them being our mutual experiences with injury as trumpet players, and somebody that I've wanted to get on the show for quite some time now. He is a freelance trumpeter. He also is a content creator on YouTube. You've probably seen, if you're a trumpet player, some of his mute reviews and other trumpet-related content on social media and YouTube. He's a very, very kind person that I've just had a good time talking to and picking his brain about certain topics. He also is the newest photographer and content creator for Conselmer. And we were just chatting about that a little bit off camera and what that has done for his career as an artist. But I'll let him share more about that. So Josh Rzepka, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Clark. Thanks for inviting me, and I'm glad to be here and very glad that this finally worked out, because we've been talking back and forth for a while to try and get this going, but we knew it was going to happen. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I do wear a lot of hats. I am a trumpeter, composer, arranger, freelance musician. I play with this touring band Under the Street Lamp.
I was reading your bio
actually
about
going
that.
on 10 years now. I've been playing with them, and then since earlier this year, since the spring, I've been the new photographer, videographer for Conselmer, which is kind of wild because I've been a Bach artist for several years and I've played a Bach trumpet for decades. And to now be, for everything that I've done with content creation, to bring me here, I never could have predicted that. But that's one thing about being a musician and being a freelancer in particular, is that you can never predict exactly what's going to happen, and a little or a lot of flexibility and willingness to go with the flow is really going to do you very good.
Absolutely. That's a great way to kick us off, because one of the things that kind of forces you to learn that lesson is going through something that inhibits your ability to play, like pain or an injury. And you were telling me that you've had several experiences with that. What's, I guess, like I said before, I just like to hand over the reins to you. What's been your experience with having to take time off for injury or for any sort of health issues?
Yeah, well, so there's been a couple of instances. the first major, I would say, like injury, like something that, I felt this like existential dread, like this is something bad. I wasn't quite sure what was going on. This was in undergraduate at Oberlin, and I was practicing, I don't know, excerpts, something loud, right? And I'm like, hey, something feels a little off, right? And I went to the doctor, got things checked out, and I had a hernia. So it wasn't big, it wasn't crazy, but I was like, I never really heard of it. I had no
Sure.
concept. And so, of course, like any young person, the first thing that I did was go on the internet, and I started like Googling, and then I'm like, oh my God, like, what is the impact? Like, how is this going to affect
Sure.
my playing? Like, I had a jury or a recital coming up, like the next several months. So I went to my teacher, and Roy Poper, my classical teacher at Oberlin, and I went to him and I was like, hey, I remember I was like kind of really bummed, and I was like, I've got a big problem, and like, I think he thought it was going to be something really bad, right? And I was like, I have to postpone, my recital or whatever it was that it was either a jury recital. I was like, I can't do this. He's like, oh my God, like, are you okay? And then I was like, yeah, I just like, was at the doctor and they said they have a hernia. And then immediately he was like, oh, you'll be fine. He's like, cause I was like, had all this in my mind. Like, I didn't know what to expect from it.
Yeah.
And I was like, am I like, what is this going to do to my playing? And he's like, oh, you'll be fine. He's like, I've had 3 of them. And I was like,
oh, wonderful.
Okay. Tell me more about this. And then I started learning it's like everyone from Phil Smith to, Wayne Berger, like all the biggest names, I think, basically in the trumpet world at some point or another. It's the number one most common surgical repair, that occurs, I believe, at least for men. So this, that really initially put me at ease a lot. And I think one of the biggest things is with any injury that I've found is there's multiple factors to it. There's multiple sides, and one of them is the physical injury itself. But then there's the mental or emotional,
Absolutely.
injury, basically, that can happen as well. Because when you have an injury and it impacts your ability to play, then things stop. Right, until you get it fixed. So I had to have surgery, and then they told me, lay off the horn for a couple weeks, and then when you come back, take it easy, take it gently. Even though after they give you a hernia repair, it's going to be stronger than it was to begin with, but when you come back, you're like worried that it's going to happen again.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That fear of injury is real.
It really affects how you approach the instrument coming back. So that initial lesson that I had with my teacher when I explained what it is that was happening, and this is something that has happened now, more than once, where I got injured and then I spoke to someone and they were like, oh, I experienced that same thing. And it was someone who I respected and someone who I knew has had an incredible professional career, and that really helped put me at ease. And it allowed that, kind of psychological, injury to start healing much quicker. And for me to feel like, okay, everything's going to be fine at the end of this. And so whereas, I was going into it with all this doom and gloom, then I think I've come out the other end of every single one of my injuries, actually as a better trumpet player. In every instance, I've come out as a better trumpet player because, the injuries can happen for a variety of reasons, and it can be because you do something wrong, and you've been doing something wrong for a long time,
right?
And you strain yourself or overwork yourself, or it just is like a cumulative wear. But things also just happen sometimes, and there isn't really a rhyme or reason. There's there isn't necessarily always something that you can point to that is the moment that something happened, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So, you know, hearing that that everything was going to be fine, on the other end, helping clear my mental space, and then having the break off the horn. So you get, I had a surgery. I was off the horn for a couple of weeks. When you're forced to step back from something and kind of take a prolonged or extended break, it kind of gets you out of some of the habits that you were doing and things that were going to be second nature the moment that you pick up the horn. If you have a couple weeks off, it actually gives you that breathing room to then kind of pick up the horn again and analyze and say, okay, what was I doing? Are there things that I can do better? And is there something as a new habit that I'd like to establish that I can, then establish kind of like from a clean start? Because
absolutely.
You're going to be building back your chops and I mean, you're going to be building back some of the muscular strength and some of the fine muscular control and coordination. So that's like a perfect opportunity if you've got a couple weeks off in order to look and say, okay, well, this is something I've been wanting to address. Let's address that right now. And especially coming out of a like a surgery where if you have a hernia like in your abdomen, like it's, I mean, like coming out of the surgery is rough, and just breathing is rough, and bearing down or anything is like awful. You don't want to do it. So it kind of forces you, like when you do get back into the horn, to try and play as like relaxed as you can and say, okay, how can I not strain too much? How can I not work too much? Because it just is uncomfortable until you're really fully healed up, which might take several more weeks after you've already gotten back onto the horn. Because most doctors will tell you, like, they'll tell you when you can start playing again. And in the other instances, which I'll get to, of where I've injured myself, like I've gone to the doctor afterward, for the 1 week or 2 week checkup, and bring a mouthpiece and say, okay, so I'd like to demonstrate buzzing the mouthpiece for you. Is this something that you think is okay for me to do? Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Like I bring my trumpet and the mouthpiece to the doctor's office. And basically I was like, I'd like to do this. And then they're like, okay, if you do that gently, that I see no reason why you can't do that. Then you can kind of get back on the mouthpiece, get back on the horn. So that first, so I've had two separate hernias over the years, actually, in different locations. And, the first one really kind of messed me up pretty good, psychologically, I think. It was really a number of months, many months afterwards, where I still was kind of like scared to play all out. Like I was kind of afraid to like really lean into it, until finally, like I was in enough situations where I was really, playing full and playing, and that was not, anything that caused any concern. It didn't do anything bad. So I was like, okay, I'm fine now. Everything is working just fine. And I'm all healed. So, but yeah, that kind of, had me worried for, I think several years after the fact. Even though I was all healed, I was still kind of like, it's always in my mind because it was such a disruptive thing that I had to, cancel performances and, so much that I was doing in school kind of, got pushed back until the next semester. So, that was wild. That was, I think that was maybe in 2004 or 5.
Gotcha.
So I guess it was like 20 years ago.
Gotcha.
So that, so that was like incident 1, right? And what I I think the big takeaway from that was, it's going to be okay, even if I think that is something that's catastrophic. Even though I think it's something that's like, how can I recover from this? Hearing from my teacher and making sure I had that dialogue, right? Going to my teacher
100%.
immediately after I heard from my doctor and explaining to him. And then he was like, hey, I've been through the same thing. And in fact, all these other people who have also been through something, and they're still playing at the top levels, that there is in the industry. So that is really very reassuring. So I think the other big takeaway from that is to understand the so much of what we do playing an instrument is solitary. We're in the practice room. We're playing by ourselves. We're isolated, and it's really easy to kind of think that everything is isolated, when in fact we have this incredible, very welcoming and very positive music community as a whole.
Yeah.
And especially within the trumpet community is like so many great players and so many great people who are willing to help and give advice and to share their stories. So when I had a chance to realize that and to hear from so many people, that really I think long term was the best thing that I could have gotten out of it, at least psychologically then.
Hey, real quick, sorry to interrupt the episode, but if you are a musician who's going through an injury right now and you feel like you could use some extra help or some extra coping strategies to help you get through this really sucky, difficult experience, head to musicianunchained.com/let's hang to see if a coaching relationship would be right for you at this time in your recovery. Okay, enjoy the rest of the episode. Absolutely. You pointed out so many things in your story that I just think are like, if I could call them textbook ways of how to like go through an injury right. I don't want to sound morbid, but like there's just so many things that like literally like research says like this is how to do it. If you're going to go through it, like this is how to do it. And the thing that you, I think, hit on the most was that sense of support, that social support that you had, right? With your professor, with the other people. I mean, maybe not the people who are actively like supporting you, but just the knowledge that like, hey, these other cats have gone through this and they're okay. That is huge. In fact, that is what the research shows, and I've shared this on the show before, but that perceived social support actually does more for the psychological recovery than like the actual receiving of it. And I think part of it is because it's like, oh yeah, Wayne's gone through it. Look at Wayne. It's like a healthy sense of comparison, almost. Yeah. And okay, yeah, go for it.
I put one thing in? Yeah, that actually reminds me also. One thing that I also got from the very beginning was that I don't remember if it was my teacher or one of my friends, but someone was like, hey, you should talk to this doctor, right? Like there's certain doctors out there who specialize working with musicians.
Yep.
And a lot of times they overlap with athletes. A lot of times it's like the sports medicine people, because they understand that we're kind of pushing our bodies to the extreme in a way that most people aren't. And that it's imperative that the repair and the healing last, and that it's like that it gets done correctly, and that our job and our career depend on it. Because I mean, I don't want to knock any doctor, but there's certain specialists who understand the nuance of what certain people work with, and there's certain ones who don't.
Right.
And making sure you find the right medical team. So I was directed to some people. They're like, oh, talk with this doctor. They work with a lot of the members of the Cleveland Orchestra. And I was like, okay, Cleveland Orchestra, because I was in Ohio, Northeast Ohio, like one of the best orchestras in the world. These are doctors that they trust. And it's not to say, again, that any other doctor wouldn't have done a great job, but going in, it was someone who had already gone through those conversations multiple times with similar people, and they've heard the similar concerns, and they had the answers already because they had been asked about all that in advance.
Yeah, no, and that's something that I'm involved in different research projects right now, and I'm learning from sports medicine doctors and also family practice doctors that people specialize in different things, but part of their training is learning just like general human population averages of how the human body works.
Yeah.
And in these conversations with these doctors, those that have worked with musicians and those that haven't, those that have realized that those averages aren't average for musicians, if that makes any sense. It's almost like apples and oranges, which is why a lot of these people who work with musicians have a sports background. And I've had some of those physicians on the show before, and it's really, really interesting. It really affects like how musicians will even like go to see doctors at all because or if they do at all because of that distinction, that difference between specialization. And I really like that you said that you brought your instrument in to show them, because I think that's also a huge key, maybe especially for those who maybe don't have a background with working with musicians as much. They do know how the body is supposed to function in order to be healthy. They may not have a ton of working knowledge of how musicians' bodies operate, but they know what a healthy body should look like, right? And that is, I think, a huge help for them to kind of get in on that type of knowledge and that type of recommendations. Hey, sorry to interrupt the episode yet again, but I wanted to tell you that if you are also a music educator of any kind and you feel like this is a conversation that needs to be had for your program, please reach out to me at clark@musicianunchained.com, and we can talk about how we can collaborate together to bring these topics, to bring these strategies to your program to help your students stay as healthy and as happy as they can while pursuing their passion. Keep on keeping on and continue watching the episode.
Yeah, and I will. So I mentioned I've had 2 hernias, and the second one that I had was my wife says it's a little trend, but I think I've destroyed the trend, where the trend being that I injured myself on a gig right before we were about to go on a big vacation. But the second hernia that I had, it was a very small hernia, and it was they called it umbilical hernia, so it's like in your belly button, right? And one of the most common ones, and it was very small. I mean, but I knew it was there, and I could tell it was happening, and I was like, oh, this is no good. Like, but I had been through the process once before, so I was like, okay, I know what's going to happen. It's going to suck. I have to have surgery, like all these things. I'm going to have to cancel gigs and rearrange my schedule. But it was small enough. Well, it was actually small enough that the doctor, had I not basically pressed him and said, hey, I need the surgery done. If it was anyone else, I mean, if it was just like a regular person off the street who wasn't an athlete or a wind instrumentalist, then he would have been like, don't worry about it. Like it's so small. You can live with this for years and years and years, and it's not going to affect you. If it really bothers you, okay, like if you start straining and doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing, it could get worse.
Yeah.
But I basically was, cause I basically, brought my instrument in, and I was like, listen, this is what I need to do. It's going to get worse. And it's going to get worse at a accelerated rate compared to someone who isn't a trumpet player, right? Imagine that I'm like an athlete, and I'm going to the gym, 5 days a week and doing squats and like doing all, like part of my job is that I have to go and I'm bearing down
compress
some
your
capacity.
entire body. Yeah.
Yeah. And once he understood that, he was like, okay, like this is a very minor fix, but let's get it fixed.
Sure.
So the second time around, psychologically, was not nearly as bad because I knew I had gone through it the first time, and I had some expectation for recovery and what it was going to be. And I actually, I think the recovery went really very well. Like I said,
good.
in the follow up, 1 and 2, in the 1 week appointment follow up, I remember I brought my mouthpiece in and I was like, can I do this? And he was like, sure. And then the 2 week follow up, I brought my trumpet in and I was like, can I do like soft playing like this? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, sure. That's, he's like, basically at 2 weeks, like you're 80 or whatever percent healed and 90% healed. And by a month, you're 90 whatever percent healed. So he was like, that's totally fine. Like your level of discomfort is going to be your guide. Like,
you're
not going to break anything again. He's like, but you probably don't want to be in a lot of pain. So like just practice as you're comfortable. But I remember, I think at the 3 week, maybe it was the 2 week mark or it was either 2 or 3 week mark. I actually played a gig, a jazz trio gig. And then at the 1 month mark, I played a gig with the touring band that I'm in under the street lamp. And it was like a lead trumpet gig. And it kicked my butt, but I made it through. I was fine. I was a little sore afterward, but I had a plan though going into it at that time, and I think that coming out of that one really reinforced again at a much higher level, which is still something that's in my playing, like a level of relaxation and a level of ease. It was like, okay, this has happened twice now. Like this can't happen again. Well, I'm doing something wrong. Like, what is it that I need to do in order to play what I need to play, but make it easier? And that kind of put me on a bit of a journey, exploration, where I was like, okay, I'm going to really kind of bring it back down to fundamentals and basics and really focus on that more and more, because by this time I'm playing in this touring band and playing a lot of lead gigs. I'm playing a lot of like really high and loud stuff. So, I kind of needed to recalibrate everything. And so that, I think that worked pretty well for a while. But then it's kind of like I feel like it was like whack-a-mole. Where it's like one thing happens, right? And then you like take care of this and then something else happens. A lot of people, you remove tension from one part of your body, just move somewhere else. It doesn't just eliminate itself.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It's actually really hard to completely remove the tension. So, I think one of the unintended consequences of me trying to not to use too much abdominal pressure and to take it easier and to do all these things is that I actually did learn how to relax all of my torso, basically, a lot more, which has been fantastic. Like easier breathing, fuller breaths, more relaxation, I think greater resonance. However, what ended up happening at one point in time was that the tension, it didn't want to completely leave my body, and it migrated elsewhere. So what ended up happening was, instead of trying to create all of the compression or whatever it is that you need to play the trumpet, right, without getting into like trumpet world too much, I started trying to hyper focus a little more in my mouth, and you with the basically trying to manipulate how I'm creating the compression and how I'm articulating and how I'm getting the notes to speak. What ended up happening was that the tension kind of migrated upward, basically from here up, which is what led me to the third injury that I had, which I think is the one that we spoke about first.
Yeah.
And that was definitely the worst of all the ones that I've had.
Third's the charm, right?
Yeah, third time's the charm. And but I think it in this game of trumpet injury whack-a-mole, I think I finally have vanquished the evil spirits, and knock on wood, thankfully.
That's what we like.
Yeah, so I was playing a gig, and it was the end of a tour. It was the last gig of like a 2-week tour with Under the Street Lamp, and we're playing in different cities. We pick up different horn players. We had pretty much the same horn section, I think, for this whole run. But the very end of it, I think we had added a date. Something had happened, and we had some different players, I remember. And when you're playing lead trumpet, or when you're playing like a first part, right? If the trumpet, at least in this band, is trumpet, trombone, saxophone, right? 3-piece horn section, it's the top voice, tenor saxophone. And in orchestra, it's the top brass voice, right? In concert band. So when you're the top voice, like you're kind of sitting on top of a bunch of harmonies below you.
Right.
And if the harmonies below you aren't stacked up in the most harmonious way possible, it can stretch the octave or compress the octave, which makes it difficult to place where the note is supposed to be, right? If you're playing octaves and the person in the lower octave is sharp, it's going to make it, it's going to want to push you up sharp.
Right.
And whatever it was that night, I think something was off. And I really felt that I needed to, it felt like I was battling the horn. It really felt like I was just kind of needing to place everything with a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be a diplomatic here. I'm not trying to call out any musicians, but whatever was happening that night, the chords weren't stacking up the way that was comfortable for me and the way that I felt they should have. And I felt like I needed to place things in a certain manner, and I was working really very hard to do it. And I remember I was kind of getting frustrated, and near the end of the second set, I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna just like lay it down, and kind of blast away and just be like, we're almost there. It's like the last mile in a marathon. You're just pushing and pushing until you get there. And excuse me. And as I'm trying to place these notes, heavier and heavier, what was happening now in retrospect, I know what was happening. My tongue was getting heavier and heavier, and I was really, really like tensing up my tongue. Very, in a manner in which it didn't need to be.
Sure.
And quite frankly, in a manner which I knew better. But I wasn't recognizing at the time that that's what was happening. And like 2 songs before the end of the show, I just felt like something in my neck. It felt like a rubber band or something just like kind of popped. It was just kind of like,
oh my gosh,
or like clicked. I mean, it was just like something happened, and then it was just like I didn't have like I barely made it through the last 2 songs. This is like the last finale in the playoff, right? And it felt bad, and it felt uncomfortable, and I was just like, oh, like something happened, right? And of course, the next, I think a day later, my wife and I, again, we're going on vacation.
I see what she means then.
Yeah. No, again, we're like going on the first time was like, when I had my second hernia, I think there was like a couple days before we went to New Zealand for 2 weeks. And I was like worried the whole time, like what's happening, right? And then when this happened, it was, I think, just like a day or two before we went to South Africa, I think. Now, these are both like really far off places.
Really
to
cool
be on
places to go on
So
vacation. Yeah.
yeah. And those are totally different stories. But it was like now anytime we have a big vacation, she was just like, take it easy on your gig. Wait, you have a gig like the night before? This is like,
yeah,
don't be a hero. So, something happened here, right? And then immediately, like the next day, like it just was like uncomfortable. And then when I would swallow, right, or eat something, I would like feel like a click. I was just like,
wow.
Something is not good, right? So, I basically took the vacation off of the Horn, and took, we quickly scheduled, some specialist, for me to see when I got back. And, what it was that happened basically is that, so the tongue is like a very big muscle. And what I learned and what I knew and what I should have known and remembered, this is a great lesson that I got from Michael Sachs, principal trumpeter of the Cleveland Orchestra, unbelievable musician and educator who I had the pleasure of studying with for a year on and off.
Oh, cool.
And he's been a friend for many, many years now. He was in town here in Chicago this past weekend. We had dinner last night, actually. So
cool.
He's a great guy.
He is,
and I love him, and he's like an incredible teacher and a very helpful mentor. And so he taught me basically one of the things that really stuck with me when I was studying with him regarding articulation, because of course he's an orchestral trumpeter. He's coming from the classical side, and jazz is very different. And but basically, he noticed way back, he's like, oh, you're articulating way too hard, way too heavy. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you're using your tongue too much. Okay, like, well, what do I do? How much should it be?
What else do I use? Yeah.
Yes. And, well, it's so a lot of people, they think, of course, that the tongue like creates an articulation of some sort, right? When the tongue can facilitate, right? The tongue can shape the air, but the air is really what creates the vibration, which is what creates the beginning of sound. Is technically like what we call an articulation, the quality of the sound. The quality of the initiation of the note is what we refer to as articulation. So anyway, he basically is like, well, when you're playing the trumpet, the heaviness and the weight of your tongue, it doesn't have to be any greater than when you're speaking, or what if you were to sing or enunciate what it is that you're playing. So if you're going to go da 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 da, as easy and relaxed as your tongue can be when you're doing that, da 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 da, it doesn't have to be da 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 da.
Right.
Your tongue doesn't have to be heavy. Now, if you want, all of the weight of the note and louder note, or what you want, a sforzando or marcato, you want, like, it's not coming specifically from the tongue. It's the air.
Right. Absolutely.
And this is something that, it's like, so like, it's difficult though to keep your tongue very relaxed for articulation while your air is doing that. A lot of people, when their air is going like this, their tongue is also going like this. As opposed to da, 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 da. Right? And then it's like suddenly, oh, the tongue is easy, it's relaxed, the air is really doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was over Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I agree with you. Like, I'm actually really grateful you're going through go through that part.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I was over-articulating. I was really over-articulating. And he noticed that, and he like kind of, set me straight with that, and he helped my articulation immensely. But this was then years later. My playing had kind of evolved because I was doing all this lead trumpet playing. And because of that, it was like, okay, well, there's certain things I needed to do, and I was just kind of forcing it out a little bit and doing it. And it was like, okay, it's working. But it was one of those instances where it was working, but I was kind of wearing myself down in ways in which I didn't know. And it was a cumulative effect, basically, of over articulating, where basically, I completely just overworked the tongue, and like inside your tongue, there's like, I don't know, like all these, different muscles or where it's attached and everything in your neck and throat.
Right.
And it all just kind of went haywire. It was like it went totally overboard, and it was like spasming almost, and that tightness, it was like I couldn't get it to like relax, basically. And so I mentioned I was getting like this clicking, like when I was like swallowing or eating or
that sounds wonderful.
Or drinking. Yeah. And it was uncomfortable. And it was actually, so there's the hyoid bone, which is the only bone in your body that's not attached to another bone.
Right.
It's floating, but it's kind of like attached or held, amongst everything that's in your neck and your tongue. And everything was just so tense. It's like it's like with sometimes, like if you go get a massage and then like you need a second massage because the first one basically just got you ready so that you can start to relax.
Right.
And,
that's so true, actually.
So it was like everything was just so tight and worked up that it basically like gave me this terrible discomfort, and it was really difficult and kind of, painful to perform. So I made an appointment with an ENT at Northwestern Medicine here in Chicago. And it was a reference that I got from, again, from musicians, and someone who specifically works with vocalists.
Oh, cool.
Cool. With classical singers. And I went in and I explained what was happening, and I was like, I think I like tore something, or like something like it felt like a pop or something like that. And they reassured me. They were like, well, I understand that's what it like feels like you did, but like there's nothing there that can break. Like there's nothing there that can break in the manner in which you describe. And they took this camera that's on a long flexible hose, which is very uncomfortable, and they stuck it into my sinuses, down my throat. I have a video of it. It's wild. And they like did this scope to see, okay, is there something that I broke? Like, is there something that was like herniated or stressed or something? They're like, everything looks fine. I'm like, okay, well, that's not helpful because it doesn't feel fine.
Yeah.
And they basically, they were like, okay, well, from what you're explaining, what happened is it was an overuse injury, kind of like, tendinitis or,
sure,
like a tennis elbow or whatever it is, where like you overuse something too much, and it can get to that point where it just is inflamed, and it's overworked and has to really rest for a long time, or you have to, do certain stretches and whatnot in order to allow it to heal. Because a lot of times you need to kind of, when things are, when things are like, in that position, they need like if you have too much swelling or there's something like you need to let it heal a bit before the problem can go away. I mean, like you can't heal until the swelling goes away.
Right.
So
Right.
like you have to like remove the swelling first. Okay, well, why is it swelling? It's because you're using it too much. Okay, well, you have to stop using it. So,
Yeah.
you have to take time, like, or they give you certain exercises. So, this ENT I met with several times, and they actually gave me a series of different, like stretches, like massage stretches, basically like for your tongue, but it's like underneath your tongue because your tongue is here, and it was basically all like this series. Oh, and I had to like stick my tongue out in like different ways and twist it and like,
oh, wow,
different ways that you stretch your tongue. It was basically just like doing PT, but trying to get rid of all this inflammation. And they gave me all these exercises, which I had to do several times a day for a number of weeks. I went back for another scope. They're like, okay, still nothing is broken. You're fine to play. It might be uncomfortable, but you're not going to, like, if you just keep doing this, it's going to get better. But you have to make sure that you don't, you have to make sure that you don't do what you were doing in the first place, which was over articulating. So that was really when I was like, okay, I need to really, learn how to, recognize when I'm over articulating, if I'm working too hard, if I'm doing too much. And I was really very, like hyper vigilant about that with my practice and very methodical. And there were, so this issue, I didn't actually have to really, I didn't have to cancel any gigs. I played all my gigs. I was on vacation. I took some time off, but like I was able to get back, like, and maybe like I subbed out a couple gigs at the beginning, but like once the doctor, I went in and they're like, no, you're actually okay. It's very uncomfortable. It's going to take many months for it to heal itself, because it took months and months, maybe years for this problem to present itself. Like it's going to take time for it to heal itself.
Yeah.
And around that time, I was hanging out a lot with Roger Ingram, this legendary lead trumpet player, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And him and I, we're friends, and we've played on many gigs, and we actually wrote a book together.
Yeah.
And we wrote a duet book together. And I remember, after I had met with the doctor the first time, I got together with Roger and I explained what was going on. And he was like, that same thing happened to me.
Okay.
And it was just like, it was like a flashback, back to undergraduate, where my teacher was like, I had hernia before, right? He was like, oh, that same thing happened to me before. Like, because he immediately is like, oh, the hyoid bone. He's like, oh, like that's what, like you're, you got, everything got inflamed, and it's like, causing these problems. I'm like, yes. And he's like, oh, it'll go away. It just, it takes like half a year or something. Or a year, whatever he said. But I think it ended up taking almost a year until like I legitimately didn't notice it anymore.
Wow. Okay.
And this whole time it was just like a daily uncomfortable reminder of play the trumpet easier, right?
Right.
Like, how do you make it easier? And that was I think that was like, I think the worst, but I mean that was the worst experience that I had as far as like injuring myself and like feeling again like, oh, this is bad. Like, is this something that I'm gonna heal from, or is this something that is gonna like derail my trumpet playing, right? Although at least at this time already, when that happened, I was working on a duet book, and we must have been working on the duet book at that time when that happened, or soon thereafter. Doing horn arranging. I'm wearing a lot of hats now. I think that was before my YouTube career, because it was before COVID. But it was already at a point where, as far as the trumpet, as far as my career is concerned, like, okay, I'm playing gigs, I'm teaching lessons, like I'm writing charts, like there's a lot of things that I'm doing which bring money in. And, there's been times where I had a studio of 40 students, and I was teaching a lot of trumpeters. This was back when I lived in Ohio before I moved to Chicago, and 40 students, like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And, it's good income, like teaching that much. It kind of burned me out. I'm much happier when I'm playing more than teaching that many hours.
Sure.
A lot of them were hour, a lot of them were half hour, but it was somewhere between 25 and 30 hours of lessons a week.
Yeah.
In addition to, gigs and
Sure.
writing music and practicing. So it was a very full schedule at that time.
Right.
And it didn't help that it was 3 different schools that were like 45 minutes apart from each other.
Sure.
So, I'd already been at least like through enough iterations of what trumpet career can look like, from performing full time, teaching, and performing, going back to performing more, then a combination of performing and writing and arranging. So, having that, I get, we were talking before we started this stream, having that freelance mentality of basically like, okay, well, I mean, I remember at one point even I thought, I was like, okay, well, I like playing piano. Like, if I need to play piano, I'll just like, I need to be a pianist. Maybe I can do that, right? If I can't play trumpet, Arturo does pretty great on the piano. It's like,
yeah.
It can't be as hard as the trumpet. Nothing's as hard as the trumpet.
Right.
So
all the pianists that are listening right now are throwing up in their mouth.
No, but any pianist out there, go buy a trumpet, and tell me it's easier than piano. Come on, any person from off the street can play the lowest and highest note on the piano, and it takes years to play the lowest and highest note on the trumpet.
Right,
and especially in tune. Anyway, so piano. But like those are the thoughts that go through your head when you're in a situation where like things are like seem like they could be catastrophic, or like you have to consider, is this going to be something that's going to really mess me up, right? So like it's like you don't want to have those thoughts, but like if you got to pay bills, if that's what your career is, you have to entertain the idea of, this could be catastrophic. Like, what is it that? So thankfully that wasn't the case, but it was, this year-long issue where it was very uncomfortable to play the trumpet. And, a couple trumpeters that I knew that I spoke with and who had given me some encouragement that they had, been through something similar or worse.
Right.
So, and I'd kind of been through it twice before with the hernia. So it's like, okay, well, I'm going to get through it. But the big lesson, again, like being put in the situation where you really have to kind of look at everything you're doing and saying, okay, well, what am I doing? Like, what am I trying to do? What isn't working? Why isn't it working? What do I need to do? What do I need to do to make sure this never happens again?
Right.
Because I don't want that to ever happen again. And, fortunately for me, I'm a really very curious person. And I love like tinkering and figuring things out.
Sure.
When I was younger, I used to like disassemble everything. I
Me
used
too.
to go to Radio Shack like every day. I was buying, soldering kits and wire and resistors and capacitors.
That's
And I was like,
next level.
I was just taking everything apart, trying to understand how it worked. And,
Sure.
I like tinkering. I'm interested in how things work. That's probably why I really got so kind of crazy with the whole trumpet mute thing, because it's like, oh wow, here's like, I can test 20, 30, 40 different harmony mutes or straight mutes and like really understand what parameters, affect articulation or projection or,
Sure.
or tonal color or intonation, really try and understand that and, get to the bottom of it. How do I get to the bottom of it?
Right.
So this is the same with the trumpet playing. And for me, it's like, okay, well, let me examine everything that I'm doing and figure out a way to do it better, figure out a way to do it easier. And, to go back to that whole, idea of, you remove tension from one spot or another spot. Sometimes it creeps somewhere else.
Right.
And I think what it was is, after the hernia, I was really focused on staying relaxed in one way, and I wasn't considering that I wasn't relaxed in a different way. And it basically, the tension had migrated somewhere else. I feel very confident that I can say right now that I play the most relaxed and like like it feels so easy to play the trumpet for me right now. And I feel like I play the trumpet better now than I've ever played the trumpet. As far as ease, on gigs, getting the end of the gig, I play it, I can start over again. As far as range, as far as sound, as far as flexibility, as far as articulation, for me now, everything feels better than it's ever felt. So I feel pretty confident that, in the sense that like the things that I'm doing now, hopefully, finally, knock on wood, again, I've gotten to this point where maybe I had, it's third time's a charm. Maybe I had to go through these trials and tribulation and, have these injuries to get it through my head that I need to stop trying to muscle it out. And I need to stop trying to make the trumpet do what I want versus working with it and creating that balance and allowing myself to play and allowing myself to play everything that I need to play.
Yeah. And I think that one of the things that we talked about before we started recording that I know I wanted to cover with you is your kind of your content creation experience. And I think on a phone call conversation we had several long time ago, we had talked about, I guess, something along the lines of how much like not so good trumpet information there is out there and how it can lead to some adverse situations for trumpet players. And I think especially for young trumpet players. You do a lot of gear reviews, and gear can sometimes play a role in like not having the right gear. I guess what I'm trying to say is like, what has your experience being a content creator and having that hat taught you about, I guess, getting that right information out there and like the importance of that, but then also like how's that informed your own trumpet health? And
I'd say there's a couple different factors there that are going on. So I do remember, I remember actually what pushed me towards buying my first camera, which was a Canon 70D. And this was back when I was teaching those 40 students a week. And I had some students come up to me one week and they showed me these videos. I'm not going to name who the trumpeter is, but a lot of people could guess it's someone who is obsessed with high notes and has some type of reputation in the trumpet world for being unpleasant. And
sure.
So they showed me some videos. They're like, hey, what do you think about this? And I watched them like, oh my God, this is absolute. I was like, this is absolutely wrong. This is not what you should be doing at all. Like, this sounds everything, like the information is wrong. The sound is bad. Like the articulation, the intonation, like it's like, oh my, this is not good. And then like it popped up again and I was like, what is happening here? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on YouTube and I started like looking up certain trumpet videos. I mean, this was in, let me think what year this was. This was maybe 2010. This was 15 years ago. I mean, YouTube wasn't that old at that point, right? So the information that was out there at the time, there was some sketchy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was 12 years ago, 13, 14. So they're showing me these videos and I'm like, this is what pops up when you type in trumpet high notes or when you type in whatever it is, right?
Sure.
And I was, fresh out of my master's degree. And I remember I was like, oh no, this is not what I want my students, watching and absorbing. So I basically was like, oh, I need to buy a camera, like a nice camera, and try and I remember I built some soft boxes, like out of cardboard boxes and aluminum foil and I went to like a Joint Fabric and bought some like white fabric that I could like duct tape around.
Diffuse
right?
It. Yeah.
Yeah. I went to Home Depot and got like one of those shop light clips that has like the two bulbs and I got some spiral CFLs, right? So I was like, okay, I did like a what I could do at the time with no knowledge. I was like, okay, how do I do this? I wasn't going to start investing hundreds and hundreds or thousands of dollars in lighting equipment and everything. But I got this camera and I got a Rode Video Mic Pro to go on top.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So that it was like, okay, I can record something nice. And I basically just made a couple of videos for my students on specific topics that we were working with and that they were thinking about. And I remember like I posted something. I'm like, hey, like you asked this question, like I made a video about it. Like,
okay, cool. Yeah.
Here's some videos that like I could put out there and feel confident that people were going to see it and that it was going to be good information.
Like an additional resource.
Yeah. I was, well, it's like if you see, if all that's being put out there is one thing and it's not right, then you need, like, someone has to come up to the plate. Like someone has to put it out there. Fortunately, now there's like so many incredible creators who are also incredible teachers and educators and trumpet players. So there is a lot of really good information out there now. But at the time I was just kind of like, okay, I'm going to do this for my students. And that really, from the beginning, kind of taught me a lot about, this was a point when I was working, like I said, I had 40 students and I was already starting to kind of dial in and understand the type of language that you need to use as a teacher so that you have clarity across your students.
Right. Yeah, language is huge.
Just because you say one thing doesn't mean that the person is receiving what you're saying, because 100%. They might be hearing something different. So a lot of times, especially when I have new students now, like the first lesson or two it's kind of like an onboarding where I go through a lot of fundamentals, I go through a lot of basics, and we discuss terminology and we discuss like what it is when I say this is what I specifically mean. And when I describe this is what I'm trying to describe, so that we both are working from the same definition, basically. Yeah. The same understanding for concepts, because that allows me to then really expand on these concepts and feel confident that my student is getting the information the way that I'm hoping that they get the information. that they're really getting the information in the way that I'm trying to describe it. So working with that many students, it really started teaching me the importance of language and the importance of what it is that I say and how I say it.
Right.
And in particular, when I'm doing scripting now for my YouTube videos, which I have not been posting very much over the last year or two, but I have literally, I think 24 scripts that I've written out. I use a teleprompter for everything now, because language is so important in that regard.
Yeah.
I really want to make sure, well, if it's scripted out, it makes it a lot easier to edit, and post-production can be really a big pain. Like if you just got hours of videos, so I want to get people don't have a big attention span on the internet. They want the information quickly. So I want it to be succinct, but I want it to be really dense. I want it to be a very a nutrient rich, the information. And because of that, I'm really very careful about what it is that I say and how I say it. And even when I'm teaching, I try not to use too many negative, versus I won't say don't do this. I would, I'd much rather say, let's try and stay relaxed.
Sure.
Let's try as you ascend, keep it open versus stop closing up. Right.
That's psychology. That's psychology, not just pedagogy. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of it. I'm trying to, get good information out there in a way that it's going to impact people. And, so I think YouTube, in content creation, has really helped me, kind of hone and dial in, my teaching and my core beliefs on how the trumpet works. Going through scripting and re-scripting and, taking ideas, to make a video, you come up with a premise, you come up with an idea and say, this is the idea for the video, but then to really flesh it out and to really understand it in depth so that you could present for 6, 8, 10, 12 minutes talking, on a topic where, hopefully then at the end of it, you're going to post it. People are going to enjoy it. It's going to really help people. And your comment section is going to be filled up with people arguing. My comment sections are seldom filled with anyone arguing or any controversy, because I try and be really clear with things so that it doesn't leave that ambiguity, which would cause people to start, trying to put their own interpretation on things. I feel like I got sidetracked there a little bit.
Okay, last interruption, I promise you. Before we get to the rest of the episode, I just wanted to let you know that if you're a musician going through an injury and you need a community to help you get through it, if you need a sense of support, some people you can ask questions to, just pick me up whenever you need it. The Musician Unchained support group, formerly known as the Trust the Process Podcast Injured Musician support group on Facebook. The link is in the description below for you to join. You don't have to go through this alone. Keep on keeping on and enjoy the rest of the episode. No, I think it's great. No, I'm seriously, because I was saying, the content world is full of everybody, of all sorts. And, especially with this new generation of trumpet players and musicians in general, it's really important that the right stuff is getting out there, but that the people that know how to recognize the right stuff is also on there to be able to guide them, right? And the other thing I want to point out to you, or not to you, but to the audience, that you said is the importance of language, because like you said, we could have two different meanings about the same concept, or it can unlock something for how you say or how you explain a concept can unlock something for the musician, for the student that was blocked before that. And so how we explain things and how we give direction and guidance and critique really plays a huge role in the musician that they're becoming, not just from a pedagogical standpoint, but from a psychological standpoint as well.
And and if you, I mean, I want my students to leave their lesson. I want them to be, be inspired. I want them to
Oh,
be
yeah.
confident, and I want them to feel like they can do anything, right? And that the new skills that they've learned and the new concepts that they've learned, that they can immediately get to work and achieve a new and greater level of success. And I really try and have that be a goal for every lesson that I have. And it's, it's so important with what we do that we can recognize the successes that we have, because, if you want to, depending on how you look at things, it shapes everything. Like
Absolutely.
when we practice a piece of music, you can say, "Oh, I messed this up. I messed this up. I messed," right? It's easy to find fault. It is so easy to find everything we messed up and everything we did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really easy as a teacher to say, "You did that wrong. You did it like
Just an error detector." Yeah.
But then you're basically just telling people, "Hey, everything you did is wrong."
Mm-hmm.
And it's maybe a little harder to find everything that they did right.
Right.
It's so, it's really easy to point out things that people did wrong. It's necessary that you correct things, and you show people how to correct what they're doing wrong. It's not just that you're, sugarcoating things, and that's not it
absolutely
at
not.
all.
Yeah.
But, encouraging people to understand, that I do things wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Winton does things wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Every Maurice Andre did things wrong. Every trumpeter in the world has messed up. Every trumpet player, has cracked a note, has misread a rhythm. No one is perfect. No one is infallible. And
right.
Recognizing your heroes are in the same struggle as you. We're waking up every day. We're trying to make the trumpet sound good.
Mm-hmm.
And recognizing that it's so much more beneficial to say, "Hey, I'm doing this great. I'm doing this great. I'm doing this great. Like, let me feel good about what I'm doing, so that I approach everything from a positive perspective, because when you start getting negative, it really affects you.
Oh, yeah.
Not just
In
psychologically,
every
it can
way.
affect you physically.
Absolutely.
And it can affect the way that you breathe. It affects people's posture immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It affects how tense people get. It really, people can have these negative reactions because they're only ever exposed to teachers that are telling them what they did wrong.
Right.
And they aren't taught to be able to recognize everything that they do right.
Mm-hmm.
And, I really try and I really try and find with every single one of my students, it's like, okay, what is it that they like innately do great?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is it they innately do really well?
Sure.
And use that as a springboard to tackle all of their other problems. Because then they're going from their greatest strength, they're using their best weapon basically to defeat to do their battles, right?
Right.
Like they're trying to, fix this. They're trying to play this. They're trying to do whatever. It's like, okay, well, what's everything you do really great? Well, let's focus on that and use that as the tool to get you there, because it'll work. We're all trying to get to the top of the mountain, and you could take any path. You could start on any side of the mountain. If you keep on the path, you're going to get to the top eventually. It might take longer depending on what path you take. It might be more challenging. It might be more difficult or dangerous, but like if you keep at it and you keep practicing and trying to better yourself, like it's going to work.
You're going to get there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I find that like to be a increasingly kind of a important aspect of the way that I approach pedagogy and the way that I approach working with students, because I've seen so much success when I really focus on it in that way. When I really am able to say, hey, like, you did this great. Like, you do this really very well. Like, it's not that far of a reach for you to do this very well,
just
too.
a little tweak. Yeah.
Like, you've got a little problem, you've got a little, you've got some issues with this, but like, you're doing this so well. If you can do that, I know that like all these other things are happening right.
Right.
Like if you've got a really nice, beautiful, resonant, open sound, you're not playing with a lot of tension. Like, no one's like,
right,
and having this beautiful sound. Like, that doesn't work like that. So like, there's certain things that are going to happen, that people are doing things, but that's what's so difficult though about the trumpet. Going back to like saying how it's so easy to point out things that it's really so easy to point out things that we did wrong or that are bad, like rhythms, notes, dynamics, whatever. All the things with
Anything and
reading
everything.
music. We can't. That's because those are things that are just like I said, it's easy because the trumpet, we can't see what people are doing.
Right.
Like, you can't see inside their lips. You can't
on.
see inside their mouth. You can't see inside their throat, inside their body. It's really takes a very skilled and a certain type of teacher to be able to hear what's happening and understand what's affecting and what's creating it. That was what impressed me. I remember the most from studying with Michael Sachs.
Yeah.
I would play something and immediately he would hear something that I hadn't heard before. Like, he would hear something in my sound, in my articulation, that I wasn't hearing. And he could diagnose and tell me, oh, well, if I'm hearing that, it means this is
like
probably
a good mechanic,
happening.
right? A good car mechanic.
Yeah, he's just a great, exactly. And that really, he really helped dial in my ears just as much as anything else, and get me to listen and focus on things that I hadn't previously considered. And not every trumpet teacher is going to be able to do that. Not every trumpet teacher is interested in doing that.
Unfortunately, no.
So, that's why it's so much more common to get the alternative, because it is easier just to say, oh, you did this wrong. I'll play, you did it, like without getting into the nitty gritty, without trying to understand what's happening and why. And as I mentioned, I like tinkering and I like trying to figure things out. So for me, it became important for me to understand that and to figure that all out just from the perspective of career longevity, right? And being able to play the trumpet,
yes,
in order, like, to bring it all the full circle, like to be able to feel confident that I can continue playing and keep getting better at the highest level, and then hopefully not injure myself again. Excuse me. All of that is, has, I think, helped me become, it certainly put me just as much on the path or further down the path of understanding how the trumpet works and how to teach, and, wanting to be in a position where I can create videos and educate and disseminate information. I think it's all kind of intertwined in some way where, it can't be unwound at this point. But I do see connecting lines from like all of these aspects. Like, I wouldn't be the player and the teacher or the content creator I am now had I not had these injuries previously.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Just because well, first of all, that's like the last question I ask all my guests is like, if you could take these experiences away, would you? And honestly, most people, I've had some people say, no, I'd take it away because that experience sucked, and it's totally valid. But most people say it's just given me so many experiences that I wouldn't have had otherwise, right?
yeah.
If you could, and we'll just wrap it up kind of with this. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much because everything you've talked about was already what I was going to ask,
Oh, right.
And
Sometimes I just talk a lot, so I'm glad it.
Well, I mean, but you hit so many different things. One of the things that I thought that I hope people can really walk away with, if trumpet player or not, is just having a freelancer mentality. In that, you have the ability to do different things and do different things well, because we can so often just get so wrapped up in our ability to play. And our identity becomes that. And we talk a lot about that on this show, that when we're faced with the possibility of not doing that, it becomes, gives us heartburn and an identity crisis, that catastrophic thing you were talking about. What the last question that I would like to ask, just as I ask it all my guests as well, is if somebody were to come up to you, maybe at an ITG or wherever, and say, "Hey, I heard your conversation with Clark on the podcast, and I'm going through. It could be a hernia, it could be a thyroid thing, it could be a completely unrelated injury. What's one piece of advice you would give them as a musician?
Oh, everything's gonna be okay. I think that's at least in the grand scheme of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
The grand scheme, like you said, it's so easy to get wrapped up with the identity, with our identity, music being everything that there is, and it's like, we have a lot to offer, right? And no one can say definitively where their situation is going to lead them, and I think that it's too easy to kind of get into this doom and gloom cycle.
Yeah.
And having, it really is just like, that's what Roy told me. That's what, that's what Roger told me. That's what my other teachers and mentors and friends told me. It's like, hey, you're going to get through it. If you can play the trumpet, you can get through anything. But if
that'll be the tagline for this episode,
like if you're going through something, you got to focus on healing. You got to focus on
right.
You have to allow yourself to heal. That's actually a really big issue, I think, for some people is they refuse to acknowledge that there could be a problem, and they don't listen to their doctors wholeheartedly when their doctors say, hey, you should take this much time off, or you should do this. Like, you have to listen to, these are medical professionals.
Right.
Just as serious as you might take your trumpet and practicing every day. Excuse me, like, they went to medical school and residency and everything. Like, you have to, you have to allow yourself to be healed. You have to allow yourself to heal, and you have to allow yourself to get help. Sometimes, some people, for whatever reason, sometimes people think that if they don't, acknowledge something, or if they don't recognize something, that it's like not a problem. It's
just going to go away. Yeah.
It's just going to go away. And it's not. And unfortunately, in many instances, it doesn't. So, I mean, like, if you're going through something, you've got to first kind of acknowledge it, and you've got to deal with it, and you got to recognize, like, it's going to be, it's going to be okay one way or another. For some, I mean, there's so many there's so many musicians out there who've had incredible stories and struggles and problems. Like take Leon Fleischer, for instance, right?
Oh yeah.
One of the great classical piano soloists.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly he found himself only with the ability to play with one hand.
Mm-hmm.
Most pianists, most people would have quit.
Right.
They would have given up. He went on to become the most celebrated performer of these works that were written for one-handed piano, right? And then years later, he was able to gain access and have a recovery. There are, stories with Rafael Mendez who had the trumpet bashed on his face, and he couldn't play. He couldn't do it. He had to have terrible surgeries. He had to have all these things happening. And he tells a story in an interview with his father where he had to, his father's like, I'll teach you how to play trumpet again if you want to do it. And he said he put him in the attic with a chair and a mouthpiece. And he says, do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you saw this video ever. It was an interview. I remember seeing it. And Mendez was saying how he sat in that chair like all day.
Yeah.
Every day for a month. And he said finally after like 30 days, he got his first buzz. Like It took him a month of sitting in a chair going, no vibration. He's like, my lips were dead. Like nothing happened. And then finally, he got a little buzz. And he said, when I got that buzz, I knew that I could be a trumpeter again. And he came back and was able to play just as well as he ever was before.
Absolutely.
There's stories of people coming back from really devastating situations and injuries, Ryan Anthony, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we lost him to cancer, but everything that he went through and his ability to come back and to show up and to play and, the struggle and difficulty that he had. There's so many stories of inspirational, of legends and heroes that we know and love. And I think hearing those stories is a important factor for a lot of people. Maybe to get them to understand that, what it is that they're going through. So maybe this is a better thing to say. It's good to say like, you're going to be fine, but, you're not alone, right?
Exactly.
You're not, it might really feel like what you said before, we're in the practice room, and might feel like you're going through this alone. But it's a fraternity, right? There's other people who've been down that path and they've made it through it the other end, and they can help you and they can guide you, and you can hopefully feel comforted in their stories. Because I think that's probably the best takeaway, because that's, to me, it's positive, inspirational. That's, to me, what was the greatest help. Hearing from my mentors and from my teachers that I was going to be okay, and that they went through something similar or worse, and that they, reached that top level of performance. So I guess that's the sentiment that I would want to try and get across to someone.
That's beautiful, and so important, like you were saying, just to remove, or at least attempt to remove, that isolation factor of it. So, well, Josh, thank you so much for your experience, sharing your experiences and your insights. I think that especially the trumpet players in the audience will be very grateful that you shared what you did. What you mentioned is actually, it's really one of the reasons why I've attempted to do this show, is to just show that people, hey, like, your heroes have gone through this, especially on the trumpet side, because I'm a trumpet player, but there's a little bit of a bias
physically
there.
Challenging
a little physically challenging. So Josh, real quick, if anybody wants to check out your stuff or reach out to you,
yes,
where are you online?
So if you just search for me, basically anywhere at Josh Rzepka, that's where all my socials are. joshrzepka.com or Josh Rzepka Music. That's YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Any one of those, you can find me through my website. I think there's a form. You can send me a message, or you can send me a message on Facebook or Instagram through one of my musician profiles, and say hi. I always love connecting with musicians or people who appreciate music, because that's what we're trying to do. That's what
Absolutely.
that's what we're all trying to do. We're trying to put some music out there and be part of this great musical community, and hopefully put something out there that's going to make everyone's day a little bit better.
Absolutely. And you have a few albums out too that I've listened to, and they sound great.
Oh.
So check those out too.
Hey, thank you.
Everybody out there in podcast land. So with that, we'll wrap this up. To everybody out there in podcast land, thanks for joining us for today's conversation. If you want more of this content, be sure to sign up for our newsletter at musicianunchained.com. And all things social are on there as well. Lots of different resources available for injury prevention and injury recovery. Just doing everything to bring these resources to light and this community, because like Josh said, you're not alone. So with that, keep on keeping on, and we'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode of Trust the Process, the official podcast of Musician Unchained, the newest coaching program dedicated to helping musicians navigate and overcome injury. But before you go, I have a few quick ways you can stay connected and support our growing community. First of all, I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me a text with the link below and share your thoughts, questions, or just say hi. You can also check the show out on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. If you found value in today's episode, consider making a donation to support our mission of empowering musicians worldwide. Every contribution helps us create more content and resources for you. So visit link number 2 below to support the mission. If you decide to donate, I'll send you my newest resource, the Injured Musician Toolkit, which is an ebook designed to give you tools to help you get through your injury. Subscribe to our newsletter to get exclusive insights, tips, sneak previews of episodes, and announcements straight to your inbox. Act now and I will send you a free gift. So sign up at www.musicianunchained.com/newsletter. And if you or someone you know would like to go deeper with me in the topics of injury and mindset, head over back to musicianunchained.com and check out the Let's Hang tab. As always, I want to thank Daniel Baldwin, my audio engineer, and my sister Dana Lovell for her help with the promotional materials. There is no podcast without them. But before I go, I want to tell you how much I deeply appreciate your time and support. You are not alone on this journey. There are musicians and educators out there who need this resource, and we need to get it to them. Together, we are breaking the chain of old habits and thought patterns that don't serve us anymore, and unchaining the potential within ourselves to face each challenge with strength and resilience. So, as I always say, keep on keeping on and keep trusting the process. Until next time.